Hello, I'm the Irish guy, and right, a few days ago, I found every Premier League club's one player who they sold this summer who is having a nightmare. A nightmare that has become a reality, like rapping in front of Aldi. Yeah, lads, I'm actually scared to go in there and buy broccoli now. I'm expecting to be banned on the spot. But look, today, I'm doing the opposite. Singing opera outside Aldi. No. Today, I'm going to take a look at every Premier League club and find the one player they sold this summer who's actually having a dream season. Some of these players are playing so well that maybe some of these clubs might have a twinge of regret, like tipping Sunderland to finish bottom of the league. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Jorginho, Flamengo. Yeah, has anybody thought about Jorginho this season? Even once? Like, has this man's name flashed across your brain for even a nanosecond whilst your morning consists of stubbornly scraping crumbs out of your Rice Krispies box? I mean, I know I haven't. Jorginho comes into my thoughts about as often as when I think about what it'd be like to kiss a sheep. He is so far removed from my brain. I have no real clue how life has been for this bloke since leaving Arsenal in May. But lads, okay, he's had a couple of injury problems in Brazil, sure. But he's more or less a key player in midfield for a re-energized Flamengo, who are joint top of Brazil's Serie A with just 6 games left. And he's also helped them reach a Copa Libertadores final against Palmeiras. Lads, to be finally playing Brazilian football for the first time in his career, after running off to Italy at 15 and being on the cusp of a league and Libertadores double, this could turn out to be the best season of his life. Aston Villa, Felipe Coutinho, Vasco da Gama. Yep, I'm staying in Brazil for this one, and lads, look, it feels like Felipe Coutinho left Aston Villa years ago, right? No, this £120 million flop only officially quit Villa on a permanent deal this summer for a permanent gig at Vasco da Gama. And yeah, whilst you would assume this fella is still a bloated pumpkin who no doubt hides mouthfuls of chicken nuggets down his socks, I mean, you'd assume this guy would be so fed up with football by now that he's this close to feeding his contract to a dog to run off and become a lonely fisherman instead. Oh no, he's been pretty good. 11 goals and 5 assists this season, and he just spanked in 2 goals in a ridiculous 6-0 win over Santos. Brazil, giant Santos, Pele's club. Neymar was crying on the pitch, which reminds me of when he scored 2 against Barcelona in an 8-2 win. Seriously, Coutinho has now humiliated both Messi and Neymar. What's he gonna do to Suarez? So yeah, whilst Coutinho's European career was slowly drowned in milk after quitting Liverpool, don't worry, he's doing okay in Brazil. Bournemouth, Dean Huijsen, Real Madrid. This one was a toss-up because 2 ex-Bournemouth defenders are currently living the dream. Lads, it has never been a better time to be an ex-Bournemouth defender. Seriously, there are recent cherry centre-backs playing for Real Madrid, PSG, and Juventus. That is so weird. Did that club have some sort of secret fairy godmother on the payroll? Look, Ilya Zabarny is starting every week for the reigning European champions. He's top of League 1 with PSG, although he picked up a slight blemish by getting stupidly sent off in the Champions League. Look, it's still going really well for him in France, but it's a slight dent on his dream. I bet like when you're having a wonderful dream about going to the beach, but then you realize you've wet the bed. So no, Dean Huijsen is living a better dream. Are you kidding me? A Spanish defender barely out of his teens to be a first choice pick in Xabi Alonso's defense at actual Real Madrid, and it's the trust shown in him as well. Do you know how easy it would have been to drop a 20-year-old after a horrific 5-2 defeat to Atletico Madrid? But no, to recover that and to then play the full 90 minutes 2 weeks later as Real Madrid won El Clasico, that is huge. To go from Bournemouth's tiny seaside ground, which probably smells of old people ice cream and seagull vomit, to go from that to now commanding the Santiago Bernabeu. Wow. Brentford, Brighton and Bemo, Man United. Okay, look, Brighton and Bemo's start at Man United has not exactly blown the roof off the stadium. Look, I mean, this isn't the most perfect of wonderful dreams, no, because no amazing football dreams include missing the vital penalty as you crash out of the cup to Grimsby Town, probably the most embarrassing moment of Mbemo's life. Now, that night in August was a serious nightmare. A bit like when you dream about a clown chasing you through Costa Coffee with an axe. However, 6 goals in 12 games is a decent return for a left winger. I mean, he's barely missed a minute of Premier League football, scored after just a minute in a win at Anfield, which is absolutely a moment he'll remember forever, even when he's an old man struggling to poo. Yeah, out of all the Brentford exits, Mbemo's probably the one living the dream. I mean, we know for sure it's not Wisa. Brighton, Pervis Estupiñán, AC Milan. Okay, now this one hasn't been perfect either. Actually, Pervis Estupiñán had a horror start to life at AC Milan. After the left-back switch from Brighton, well, on his debut, he was losing at home to Cremonense. That was probably more embarrassing than me caught smooching seagulls. However, he then started 4 wins in a row, although was then sent off against Napoli, was out injured for a month with a busted ankle, and has only just crawled back into the side. But still, he is starting left midfield for one of the biggest clubs in the world, who are only 2 points off the top of Serie A. Seriously, to be starting matches just 4 feet away from Luka Modric, that alone probably causes this Watford flop to go weak at the knees. He is somebody who's barely won a sausage in his life. Just 1 Europa League winners medal with Villarreal, that is it. But if he actually manages to win Serie A, cementing himself as a modern-day Milan legend, after being ignored for 4 years at Vicarage Road, with none of the hundreds of Watford bosses even bothering to give him a debut, then this comeback would be huge. Burnley, CJ, Egan, Riley, Marseille. Look, no Burnley summer exit has been brilliant. CJ Egan Riley chose at the age of 22 not to bother with getting an actual Premier League season under his belt, with the centre-back dipping out for Marseille on a free. And it's actually been mixed. He started the first 3 matches of the season, was sent off against Lyon, benched for a month, only just came back into the team, but hey, he started 2 Champions League games, one of which was a 4-0 win over Ajax. And he even squirmed 2 minutes of football playing right back at the actual Bernabeu. He's also part of a squad who are only 2 points off PSG at the top. It's not a flawless dream, but I'd say he's pretty happy. Chelsea, João Felix, Al Nassr. Look, there's not many Chelsea summer exits who've really gone and kicked on, no. But hey, João Felix's stats this season are still ridiculous. But they should be. He's the 4th most expensive footballer of all time. But he's given up on European football at 26 to go and compete in Saudi after a pretty underwhelming few years, where he was being bang average from massive clubs. Even recently, his dream AC Milan spell is just remembered for getting lectured by a future Burnley defender. I'm guessing he was fully sick of European football, and well, he's clearly way too good for the Saudi Pro League. 14 goals in 16 matches. He's already smacked in 2 hat-tricks, and you know he doesn't even take the penalties. I mean, if he even dared to ask for one, I'm guessing Ronaldo would fully bite off his nose. He'd have more luck trying to pinch dog food off an XL bully in the park, or trying to steal a banana from an orangutan at the zoo. Yeah, that monkey would break your face. But come on, lads, with Felix playing just behind Ronaldo up front, and being supplied by both Mane and Coleman on the wings, then of course they've won every single Saudi Pro League match so far. I know, yeah, he gets paid £300,000 a week. 6 times what Benfica offered to bring him home. I'd say he prefers living like a king at such an easy level, instead of, you know, getting paid 50k a week and getting barked up by Mourinho for limp tackles in training. Crystal Palace odds on Edouard Lons. This one shocks me. I bet like when Bart went skateboarding in the Simpsons movie. Lads, Odson Edouard was living an actual nightmare. Like the one where you wake up with no clothes at school, not wanted by Crystal Palace, and was then frozen out at Leicester City, with this 27-year-old striker being left out of 28 matchday squads. He wasn't even injured. This is one of the worst Premier League teams of all time. Probably the most blunt one. And Ruud van Nistelrooy didn't even want him cozying up on the bench. It was so weird. What happened? Did he never forgive Edouard from accidentally stealing his cheese sandwich from the fridge? It was so bonkers, and so I naturally just assumed this guy had just forgotten how to play football. No, he waddles off to Lens in France, and well, he scored in 5 of his last 6 matches. If there's League 1 fantasy football, then this guy is the most pick. He scored more goals this season than any PSG player. And oh yeah, Lens are 3rd in the league, just 2 points off the top. I hope Van Nistelrooy is watching this whilst munching Jaffa kicks on the couch, begging his phone to ring, because his decision to treat Edouard like some busted mop was so very weird. Everton, João Virginia, Sporting Lisbon. There's no Everton summer exit living the dream. Look, purely because of the bar for Portuguese goalie João Virginia was set so extremely low in his career. I mean, come on, he's a 26-year-old former Arsenal under-18 goalkeeper who's barely played football, just a handful of matches in his whole life. I mean, sure, he's joined Sporting Lisbon, the club single-handedly responsible for the fact you'll find more Susans in his comment section than in your local bingo hall. And yeah, he's on the bench for Sporting, but he's actually squeezed out 5 games so far, and one of them was in a Champions League win. To go from Everton reserves to this, not bad, João. Fulham, Martial Godo, Strasbourg. Yeah, how many of you even knew what a Martial Godo was? This is some London kid who came through at Dartford, was signed for Fulham in 2022, and barely played. Come on, last season alone, he was left out of nearly every single Fulham matchday squad, and made just 2 cameo league appearances off the bench. That's it. He was so ignored, he was probably beginning to question whether Marco Silva had caught him doing something weird, like trying to impregnate gingerbread men. Godo wasn't even making the matchday squads for the under 21s, so probably thought he'd blown his chance by playing the full 90 minutes in a 6-0 defeat to Chelsea. Fulham as a club seemed to hate him. This was their way of telling him they thought he was no more talented than a moldy bag of chicken wings. Yeah, he then joined Strasbourg in France, and well, he's done okay. He came off the bench to grab a winning assist against Le Havre on his debut, scored 2 in a 5-0 win over Angers, played 17 minutes in a nutty 3-3 draw with PSG, and he recently played the full 90 minutes in a 3-0 win over Auxerre, and he also scored 1 and made the other one in a 2-1 Conference League away at Häcken in Sweden. And he's playing for a team 4th in Ligue 1. And since leaving Fulham, he's also made his senior debut for the Ivory Coast. That is not bad, Godo. I mean, he's probably probably doing better than the other Martial. Leeds Joe Gelhardt, Hull City. Okay, I know he's technically only on loan at Hull City, but again, Joe Gelhardt is a scouse winger who's utterly ripping the championship apart with his bare teeth. He's got 7 goals in 15 games so far for Hull this season, and he's in a freakish form, scoring in 5 of his last 6 matches. Hull City are in the playoffs, and he probably has the likes of Alfie dabbing in his forehead with a Marks and Spencer's 50 crown handkerchief. I know he's on loan, but Gelhardt has been brilliant. Liverpool, Luis Diaz, Bayern Munich. Liverpool selling Luis Diaz was monumentally careless. I'm sorry, but this is just a classic case of a club growing bored of having such a reliable, stable footballer because they wanted to sell him and cash in for the next big superstar instead. Somebody with a flashier name. Everybody at Liverpool seemed perfectly pleased with selling Diaz to Bayern Munich for just, 55 mil? Which is odd considering last season he slammed in 17 goals from the wing as he won the league. I know Diaz had been making noises about wanting to move on for a while, but so? If Liverpool had just offered him a contract worth £150,000 a week, then he'd have stayed and you'd have a perfectly excellent left winger balancing out your squad, instead of using the Diaz money to buy another elite striker you didn't even need. This feels like if Chelsea were happy to sell Arjen Robben to upgrade with Flora Malouda. Malouda was good, but not a patch on what Robben went on to do. Anyway, Diaz is having a dream season in Germany, 11 goals and 5 assists for a Bayern team who've only dropped 2 points in the Bundesliga all season. And he just scored both goals in a 2-1 away win at PSG in the Champions League. Okay, he was also sent off, which is a bit like the referee spitting in his hot chocolate. But still, lads, Diaz has won 16 of his 17 matches since leaving Liverpool, whilst his old buddies have since lost 7 times. It doesn't get much better than that. Lads, I really wouldn't be shocked to see Diaz now win the treble. It's a bit like when Barcelona sold a toe. Man City, Manu Akanji into Milan. I thought it was a bit weird when Man City were so happy to sell Manu Akanji, a treble-winning defender, in the summer. He pops off to Inter Milan after being offered a Galatasaray and Crystal Palace, and yeah, whilst it looked like his career was about to plummet into a wheelbarrow filled with hippo poop, oh no, this is the best possible outcome he could have had, because he hasn't missed a single minute of Serie A football. Not bad for someone who's supposed to be an injury-prone penguin of a player. Inter are top of the league, have a 100% record in the Champions League. I mean, considering this guy was being asked if he wanted to play in Turkey or sulk in mid-table with Palace, he was offered the chance to be this season's Trevoh Chalobah. No, to instead be top in Italy. Brilliant. Although I am a bit confused, because I thought Christian Kivu was going to be an absolute wet banana of a coach and would have been sacked by now. Whoops. Man United, Marcus Rashford, Barcelona. There are a few other footballers in this list who are living the dream as much as Marcus Rashford is. Earlier this year, this guy was a Manchester United outcast, with his manager publicly telling the world that he would rather pick his 63-year-old goalie coach on the bench than somebody who clearly had the work ethic of melted popcorn. It was a disaster. I mean, he was thrown a bone with a pretty underwhelming loan move to Aston Villa. I know they were in the Champions League, but come on. Was a 27-year-old Rashford really excited by the prospect of wearing an Aston Villa shirt? And now, it'd be like asking a megastar like Taylor Swift to help out at Burger King. But look, Rashford's form did not merit a move to Barcelona. But hey, he still gets it, and so far, 6 goals and 9 assists. He's already smashed in 2 Champions League braces, one of them in front of my face at Newcastle. It felt like I just had a potato lobbed off my teeth. He even scraped an assist in his first ever El Clasico. And what surprised me more than anything is that he's actually starting matches. He started the last 7 in the league and all 4 in the Champions League. I know he's helped with the fact that Rafinha is out with a hamstring injury, but still, even when the Brazilian comes back, Rashford's probably done enough to keep his spot. Okay, and I know this is technically a loan on paper, but make no mistake about it. Rashford ain't ever playing for Man United again. It's about as likely to happen as me putting Bugs Bunny out my nose. Newcastle, Lloyd Kelly, Juventus. This one makes no sense to me. Lloyd Kelly just officially made his move to Juventus permanent in the summer, and after being frozen out of Eddie Howe's plans at Newcastle fairly soon after joining for Bournemouth on a free, to now be at Juventus and starting every week. Lads, Kelly barely made the starting 11 in his 6 months at Newcastle. But this season, before his hamstring injury he picked up at Halloween, he didn't miss a single minute in Serie A or the Champions League. He even scored against Inter Milan in an epic 4-3 win, and he helped keep a clean sheet against AC Milan, only narrowly lost at the Bernabeu, and he even achieved the dream moment of his life, scoring a dramatically ridiculous last-minute equalizer against Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League. You know, the 4-4 match? Yeah, this someone who a year ago was physically unable to dislodge Dan Burn, or a Fabian Schär. It was now 4th choice Newcastle centre-back. For Kelly to be ripping it up at Juventus, being coached by Spalletti, it is nuts. This is about as unlikely as you finding Wolverine making cookies in your kitchen. Nottingham Forest lose to Brian Wrexham. Is it anybody's dream to be playing for Wrexham at 27? Really? Look, Lewis O'Brien's career really went off the rails after that move from Huddersfield to Nottingham Forest in 2022. Come on, 5 minutes ago, he was randomly lost in the MLS. So to be fair, he is starting most matches for newly promoted Wrexham, who've only lost 2 games since August. It's not a dream yet, but if Wrexham go up with O'Brien in midfield, and this gets published on Disney Plus, then yeah, it probably will be the dream season of his life. life. Sunderland, none. Not a single Sunderland exit are having a dream season. No, they're probably all feeling pretty jealous that they left. I mean, I guess Joe Bellingham has done okay. A lot has been made about his lack of game time, but he has actually played in every single match, just mostly off the bench. But yeah, it's not a dream. So next, Tottenham, Son Heung-min at AFC. Surprise, surprise, Son Heung-min is too good for the MLS. Who knew? Yeah, he's already scored 10 goals in 12 matches for LAFC, scored a hat-trick against Salt Lake. He's an MLS superstar getting paid handsomely to live a private life now. I say he's buzzing. West Ham, Aaron Cresswell, Stoke City. Again, is it really a dream to be playing left back for Stoke? You know what? Yes, I know this sounds like the dullest dream in the world. It's like a 5-year-old telling you they want to grow up to become a postman, but lads, Aaron Cresswell is a 35-year-old left back who was only ever asked to play in a back three for West Ham last season. Clearly not trusted enough by Graham Potter to be a left back. So to rock up at Stoke on a free, it looked like he was about to join the most depressing club in English football. Seriously, this club has been the most predictable one in all of English football's top 4 leagues since their relegation in 2018, because they finished 16th, 15th, 14th, 14th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. So Cresswell joining them, he must have felt like he was agreeing to go camping in the graveyard. This wasn't gonna be much fun, but he's played the full 90 minutes in 12 matches so far, all at left back. He's a first choice pick for a Stoke team who are 3rd in the championship, just 2 points off the automatic spot. I've never been to Stoke. I'd sooner have a picnic in my dentist waiting room, but this must be the most optimistic and excited that town have been since they had Shaqiri in the team. Lads, Stoke have only ever been promoted to the Premier League once before in their history. But guess what? When they did that in 2008, they just signed a Cresswell that season too. Just saying. Wolves, Mateus Cunha, Man United. Has it been a dream? Look, his goals and assist numbers have not been there at all. In fact, I'm sure Mateus Cunha has disappointed millions of fantasy football managers. But still, his overall play, his contribution in the final third at Man United, his attitude and his swagger that he's adding to a team who just finished 15th in the league. Yeah, it's been a quiet dream, but a dream nonetheless. Even though he also missed a penalty against Grimsby. Anyway, that's the end. Let me know, what do you think? What soul player is living the dream? And let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, please. I'll talk to you in a while.